This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Tech, show number 137, recorded on October 3rd, 2013. Here on Home Tech, we cover all your favorite tech gadgets that find their way into your home, news, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all for the average tech guy. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the AverageGuy.tv studios here in Bellevue, Nebraska, and we post the show, of course, with world-class show notes each week out at the AverageGuy.tv. You know, each week I get a comment from a listener saying they read the show notes, and I only put that in one set of show notes, which is weird. So it's a couple of you are behind on podcasts. It's funny. That was about 5 or 6 weeks ago, and just today I got a note from somebody said, like the show notes, keep doing them. So anyways, I appreciate you guys coming back. If you have questions, comments, or contributions, you can contact the show via email. Just send that to me, podcast@theaverageguy.tv. You can find me on Twitter at @jcollison or follow the show schedule at theaverageguy.tv. Although I haven't been as faithful on that Twitter account, I apologize for that. You can also join us for live chat during the show at theaverageguy.tv live, right next to the live stream window. Love to have you join us via your tablet or mobile device as well. We now have enabled low bandwidth streaming on the live page, so you can check that out if you want. And we also have a high bandwidth YouTube page as well. If you just head into the upper right-hand corner, actually it's the other way. It's this way. Upper right-hand, no, I was right, that way. No, that way, there we go. That corner. It says YouTube, high bandwidth, and click on that, and usually you get a little better picture. And the live chat is right below that. You can join us out there at the AverageGuy.tv live. All right, we're clear of meetups, and I've got John Zadler with me tonight, and it's always good to get together with John. He has been busy. We're going to get an update on Windows to Go a little bit later, but John, how are you?
I'm good, Jim. Thanks for having me again. Always a pleasure being on your show and talking a little bit of home server and some of the other stuff.
Yeah. We actually, did you get a chance to catch us live at all last night on Home Server Show?
Yeah. Well, it was a long show. I kind of I went pretty long. I didn't get the last end. I forget who it was. One of the guys, I'm not sure if it was Vinyl Freak or John Stutzman, said, I'm tired, I'm going to bed. And I was saying, yeah, you know what? That's a good idea.
It was late. We didn't get started till 9:30 Eastern and 8:30 Central. And so typically, no, it's the other way. It was 10:30 Eastern, 9:30 Central. And Dave did Surface Geeks first, so surfacegeeks.net, or you can head over to the homeservershow.com. And so we got started late, but John, we had some home server news in there. So it was kind of, Dave and I are trying to get back on track and post meetup and get some home server stuff. You fed me a little bit of information, so that was good. And then we talked a little bit of Synology. I may talk a little bit about that here at the end of the show, but we talked a little Synology. So back on track over at homeservershow.com. Good to be back on track. Let me get a few announcements out of the way real quick, and these might pertain to you. We are cranking along with our Tech Scholarship Fund, and actually, John took advantage of that, and we did Windows to Go with him. John, we got a lot of mileage out of that Windows to Go because we talked about a bunch about it at the meetup. I mean, that was pretty cool. You were able to jump in there and hear that presentation.
Good. Yeah. Well. And I guess by you and maybe some of the other guys having a chance to listen, at least they were like, let's say, I guess, somewhat maybe prepared. So that's a good thing because those guys. I mean, they're the professionals. If anybody's gonna have the answers to the questions, it'll be those guys. So I was listening in on the live.
Yeah.
You guys brought
no,
me.
It was
in
good
there.
to have you. Yeah.
It was nice. He hooked me up there.
At one point, we heard this. I have a question. It was you. You were in the laptop, and that was great. That was great. So we're going to talk Windows to Go. We'll get an update from you here shortly on that. But that was one of those Tech Scholarship Fund deals, and actually, Brad just hit me up. He is a guy. So Brad, he'll just go by Brad C, mostly because I can't remember his last name right now. But Brad is thinking of starting a brand new sports podcast out on the Average Guy Network. So a pretty cool concept. He's kind of messing around with it, and he said, "Hey Jim, could you buy me an Alesis Multimix 4, which is a 2 XLR and 2 channels mixer?" He's looking to do some podcasting, and that's home tech all the way. And so I think we're going to pick that up for Brad, and he will. He'll do some reviews on it and come on the show and talk about it as well. And we'll even launch his new sports podcast that's going to start here. He's going to cover the northeastern part of the United States. Northwestern part of the United States. And we're looking forward to having that podcast on there as well. And so that if you want to do that, just send me an email, podcast@theaverageguy.tv. We'll put you on the list to join us in the Tech Scholarship Fund. Maybe write a couple posts about it. Maybe join us on the show, and we can do that for you. So let me know if you want to do that. We've had a couple of people do it. In fact, this Saturday, Kyle Wilcox, who he tested out the TransSmart MK908. So if you want to Google that in advance, it's called TransSmart MK908. It's a little Android. It's a very, very small Android device that you can make like a PC out of. And so he's testing that to see if he can be a PC replacement for his brother at home. So he's got 2 posts out at theaverageguy.tv. And we'd like to have him on the show. He can't make Thursday nights, so he is going to join us next Saturday. If you're watching this and it's a couple weeks after the fact, we've probably already recorded it and it's already out there. But in case you're joining us on the live show, watch Twitter for me, and I'll let you know when we go live on that as well. Okay. Oh, one more thing, John. I am so I pulled my laptop out today, my Windows 8 laptop, touchscreen, that little ACES. I talk about it all the time. Over the last couple days, right after I boot it, the mouse works for about 2 minutes, and then it just disappears. Right? So I'll be working, mouse is gone. So I'm having a mouse driver problem. I think I could just uninstall the driver, maybe reinstall it, and that would probably fix it. But I kind of started thinking, really haven't taken this Windows 8 stuff very seriously, right? I mean, I'm still Windows 7 here at the house on just about everything. I've got Windows 8 on the laptop, but I still work it like a desktop. And I thought, wonder what would happen if I went on like a 30-day experiment with that laptop where I only did touch, right? I just tried, and that would really force me into, and not just touch, but Metro, right? Really get into the desktop, or not the desktop, but the Metro UI experience, the Windows 8 experience, I guess is what they're calling it now. So I may do that, John. I may just force myself, because I haven't done that yet. And with Windows 8.1 coming out, it'd be kind of interesting to start now, and then in 3 weeks or so, we see Windows 8.1, and that laptop will upgrade. So I might give that a try. Have you messed much with Windows 8.1 on any kind of touch surface, or 8 or 8.1 on a touch surface at all?
No, I don't have any touch monitor or any laptop, so but it's quite an experience. Like they say, once you get going with the touch screen and getting used to putting your finger, then when you get back to Windows 7, or like imagine you go back to work and then you're running Windows 7, then you want to do something and you get so used to touching the screen that you're like, you're doing it at work when it doesn't apply. So it's it's a pretty nice thing.
Yeah, it does take a little bit, Christian. Christian just pinged me in Skype, and I didn't see it, so he jumped right in the chat and said, "Jim, add me to the show." So here comes Christian. It's different, John. It's one thing to talk it like when you're flipping over to the desktop all the time, but Windows 8's been out a year now, and while I've talked like, oh, it's not a big deal, I've never really tried to use the Metro UI full time.
Well, it's a little bit better with the 8.1 RTM. It's a better starting experience than the 8. So for those who held off, I'd say that's a better thing.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, Christian is joining us. Christian, can you hear us? He's working his way into a little different orientation there in the dorm room. It's not showing that messy bed like he had last time. We're going to get an update from Christian here at the end of the show as well on all things going on in Maryland. Hey, can we hear you yet, Christian? Can you hear us?
Check. Good.
Okay, good. Yeah,
great.
You're good. Before we get rolling with John Zadler, I did get a letter from a listener, and I didn't get permission to use his name, so I'm going to hold off on doing that just yet. But he had, I'm a big Drobo fan, and Christian wonders why I'm a Drobo fan, and actually my Drobo fanboyness is waning, and I'll tell you why here in a second. But so I got this letter today, and it went something like this: it said, "Love your podcast, thank you very much. And thought I'd drop a line in exasperation over a product that gets a lot of publicity on your podcast. I have a Drobo S with 5 1 gigabyte drives that is just 18 months old. All the lights went red with one blinking. I replaced the drive with the blinking light with a larger drive. By the way, if all the lights are blinking red, let's see. All the lights went red with one blinking. If they all go red with one blinking, that's bad. They should be green with one red one blinking. So I think the actual board inside his Drobo went bad. But he said, I now get an error that I have to replace too many drives and nothing else is readable. I'm not asking for guidance, and I appreciate that. But to show you Drobo's reaction, I was told that I am no longer under DroboCare. So, and typically Drobo has a 1-year warranty they will not respond, but I can pay for support, which is the deal at Drobo. Drobo is a high-dollar device, and it is, and that's why I added that comment there, and should have much better support than that. And I totally agree in this case. Drobo should have a 3-year warranty and not a 1-year. That's the problem. Drobo's warranties are 1 year if you get them. They are expensive, and I would expect a 3-year warranty out of a device like that. He says, this support, in quotes, is really not acceptable for a product like this, and I tend to agree. I thought I'd be interested when a true average guy tries to get support from Drobo. Take care and keep up the great podcasts. And listener, thank you for that. And I just didn't get permission from you to read your name on the air. But guys, I kind of wrote back this, and I hope I didn't offend him when I wrote it back. But there's really two sides to this in the product support category. Drobo makes no bones about putting a 1-year warranty on their product, and when you buy it, it's 1 year. And I kind of took it back to a analogy when I brought my Honda Civic, my 2006 Honda Civic. It came with a 30,000 mile 3-year warranty. I knew that coming with it, and I knew it was a hybrid and it had all kinds of expensive parts in it, and it had very expensive batteries that would cost $3,000 to replace. And so I paid $2,000 for the extended warranty. Now, I paid a lot for that hybrid car when it was new, and I also paid a lot for that extended warranty, but I knew what I was getting myself into when I did that. And sure enough, that extended warranty paid off when the batteries went bad at 105,000 miles, which happened about a year ago. And Honda replaced the batteries for me for free because it was under the contract. And so one of the things I know when we talk about the Drobo, and I get this all the time, and because I've been the Drobo fanboy for the longest time, I feel like I got to respond to it. So if you're going in, you got to know in any product you're buying, you got to know what you're getting yourself into. And if it's a 1-year warranty and you're not comfortable with that, you got to buy the extended warranty of the DroboCare. It's not terribly expensive to do it, but you got to know that if it's going to go bad. Any product, hopefully, this listener had their stuff backed up somewhere else, because what it sounds like is the board inside the Drobo has gone bad. And hopefully you backed up your stuff. John and Christian and I talk about backing things up all the time. That's a theme that runs through our show here, and so hopefully you had that backed up. And so yeah, you kind of know what you're getting into, and especially with Drobo. Now I have the 5N, and I have not bought the extended warranty on it, and I know in this case DroboCare is what they call it, and I kind of know what I'm up against when I go into that, and so it's a tough deal. I totally agree with the listener that I'd love to see Drobo have a longer warranty period. I get that you pay good money for those Drobos, and 1 year is not long enough, and I totally agree. That being said, if you're going to have a Drobo and you're going to expect it to last 3 or 4 or 5 years and you don't want to get into that situation, you should buy the DroboCare. Okay, so that being said, one of the things I know from my inside sources, because I used to have somebody I know that used to work there, is that now that now that they've merged with Connected Data let go a whole bunch of their support staff and then tightened up the warranty requirements. They used to, even out of warranty, they used to kind of help get those things fixed, even if they're out of warranty. They're not doing that anymore. So it's hard for me to recommend a Drobo at this point. The only reason I'm going this long on this is because I've said the Drobo word a lot on both podcasts, both Home Server Show and here. And I'm making a fundamental turn on them a little bit. I'm not exactly sure where that organization's going, and they have new leadership, and they've been tightening some things up. And Tony Rayner says in chat that Synology comes with a standard 2-year warranty, and I'd like to see a standard 3-year warranty on that as well. But so I'm a little bearish, I think, as you would say, on the Drobo at this point. I've got one. I had one. I still like them. They're put them in, load the drives, walk away from them. They do have problems. If the board goes bad on it, you're stuck type deal. If it's out of warranty, you're stuck even more. So I guess I say be careful going in. And I don't often do a long monologue on something like this, but because I've spent so much time talking about the Drobo, and I wanted to address that listener, because I do appreciate the emails we get from our listeners. I did want to address that right up front on the show and just say, yeah, you kind of got to know what you're doing. You got to go in smart on those kinds of purchases. If you're going to spend a Drobo $600, DroboCare is 60, I think. Just pay for it. It's worth it to have that kind of, to have that extended peace of mind, so to speak. So, all right. Thanks to the listener. Again, I just didn't get an approval back from you to get your name, but you know who you are. I appreciate it. If you want to talk with me about that, I appreciate it. But that is my answer on the Drobo. Okay, very good. John, let's throw it over to you. I want to get a update from you because we talked about the Windows To Go device that's there. I wanted to get a little update. It's been 3-4 weeks, maybe or longer. And you actually tried to join this Hangout on the Windows To Go device that was plugged in. We saw a lot of this at the meetup. How's it running for you? What are you using it for? Those kinds of things.
Yeah, it's running great, and one of the biggest things I wanted to get running with it is to see how it runs with the server 2012 Essentials, on the server network, because the thing is that capacity is 32 gig. Where is that stick? It's around here somewhere. It's 32 gigs, so I didn't want to put like all my music and videos and files on there. I wanted to keep it on the my files on the server and have like remote profile, where I can just log in and have my files on the server. So have all that functionality, networking stuff working, and see how that would play out. So that's how I've been using it. And since it's the just last month, because when Microsoft released the Windows 8.1 RTM, and then about a couple of weeks later they released the enterprise version, the RTM. And originally what I had did when you had sent me the devices, I had the preview. And Microsoft been saying since day one, if you had your Windows 8, 8.0, and you went to the preview, you're not going to be able to do like a clean, to upgrade to the final bits or whatever. You have to do like a clean or completely clean reinstall, or bring your computer back to Windows 7 and then do an upgrade to 8.1. So I noticed that when I had this. When I had installed 8.0 preview, I actually had to wipe the drive, start out fresh, reinstall Windows 8.1 RTM on the PC, on the hard drive of the PC, because now the standard way of installing the OS or to get everything onto that drive is to have a PC running Windows 8.1. And then in there's a function, you just hit the Windows key and you type in Windows To Go. The thing will come up. It'll ask you, say looking for the drive, and then it'll go and install it, and there you go. So, but once you have that Windows 8, desktop set up already, and then you create this stick. It's very simple. It's very easy, and so the average person there, if you're like a dad at home and you say I want to make 3 or 4 to give to my kids, because one of the nice things I found is. Too, it's even though I'm like it's funny sometimes, I'm a PC guy, but my two kids got Macs, and they don't want to put Windows. I did a dual boot with my son, and he's like, no. Now he said, like that, it's only, I don't know, 300 gig hard drive, like there's not enough space, blah blah blah. So I said, hey, this is a good option here with the Windows To Go, is you can. And my kid is like a bit like, you have sometimes even you have, I don't know, you have family members or whatever, they say like, don't mess up my PC.
Well, he's been burned by you too many times, John.
Yeah.
Come on.
There
Come
you
on.
He's been burned by, but that's it. Well, you have, maybe he's been burned, but then you also have people who are a bit like, if there's an icon out of place on my desktop after you fix it, like, the people get they just have no patience for that. So what's nice is when you set it up on the USB stick, then you just say boot up your PC, in this case a Mac. Boot up your Mac. You'll get the Windows environment, and like we said before, there's the first time it'll actually Windows 8 it circles, it looks for all your hardware. I'll do it, so it's the first time it's not like bang, it's just working. The first time it'll go through its thing, then it'll reboot, and then after that, when it boots up, everything should be good. You can log in with your Microsoft ID, and there you go. So now, your kids are running Windows 8, and they can enjoy it and test it out and stuff like that. And if they don't like it, then they can just shut it down and unplug it. So it's a good also option for like people who, in your case, let's say somebody says, hey, I'm running Windows 7 or Windows, or excuse me, even Windows 8, no, XP. If you have a decent machine, like some people say, I want Windows XP, even though they have an i3 or i5 or whatever, they're just comfortable with Windows XP. And if you say, hey, you're gonna have a chance here to try out Windows 8, and I'm not really gonna, I'm not really, I'm not really gonna mess up your system here. I'll give you the stick. You boot off the stick because it's a modern computer. You can boot off the USB stick, and then try that out for a couple of weeks. And if you
Right.
like it, then whatever. Okay, it's the enterprise, so that's the business version. You can't add that media center stuff, but the
In
statistics show
most
that
cases,
it's
you're not going to be
yeah,
using it, right?
people
Yeah,
don't use that. So
yeah. Well, in
so
that
it's
case, right, when
yeah.
Windows to go, you're probably John. Let me ask you a question because I didn't get this answered at the meetup. So say you go to your son's Mac and you fire it up, it finds the drivers, it reboots. You're using it, right? So you shut it down, pull it out, go back to your PC, plug it in. It finds the drivers, it fires it up, it reboots, and you're there, right? Now
Yeah.
you pull that out and you go back to the Mac, right, that you're on. Does it have to find the drivers again and do that all over
No,
again? Okay,
no.
so it remembers the machine.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
if you didn't change the hardware, it'll be just like on running a regular PC. If you turned off your PC, you added a new hard drive or a printer or something, then it'll search and it'll say, hey, I see something else, but it's not going to do the reboot thing. So
Now,
that's
we
pretty
had tried, you were going to use Windows to Go tonight. You were going to try and run off of that to do the show tonight.
good.
And we had you log in, and for whatever reason, the video was not syncing with the audio. We were having little problems. You and I should probably test that a little bit more because maybe it's just not up to it. But it does use the current hardware, right? That's why it's loading, is the drivers for the hardware on that PC. Same PC you're using right now? Was
Yeah,
that the same
and I think
PC?
my issue was because my brother was downloading all kinds of
Oh,
videos, so that
okay.
was the
All right.
lag there. I'm sure if I would reboot back into it,
Shoot.
I
Okay.
wouldn't have those problems.
Okay, so good enough that we could probably I wouldn't have been able to tell the difference between this and what you're running on right now and running on that because it's still using your video card and all those other things that are on that PC that you're running, right?
Yeah, yeah. The only like slight like I don't notice the difference in lag or nothing, but I gotta say that I'm this is a USB 3 device, and on my PC it's older PC, so it's older hardware. I don't have a USB 3 port, so if I plugged it in there, I would probably even get some, maybe quicker, running some applications and stuff. But then again, this is like a SSD type of technology on there. So when I'm opening, desktop apps, because the desktop apps they're not installed on the server, they're installed here, and so it's pretty cool. But
Yeah.
I do
So
run Office, like from the Office Maven, I do run the Office 2013 off the server. Because one thing I did notice is because Microsoft has to put some smarts into this, right? Because you know how when you have a PC and you're running, let's say you switched out the motherboard or a hard drive or something, Windows 7 would sometimes come back and say, hey, you need to activate because there's been too much changes. So
mhm.
that would be the case if you had the OS installed on this, put it on another PC, boot it up, it would say, hey, there's so many PC changes here, you need to activate this. You give them the same key, and then you go on, and next time you try on another piece, eventually it's going to say, hey, this key's been used too many times, and kick you out. So Microsoft has to kind of like put have some smarts in this to say, look, don't really look at the hardware, look at the device. We're always using the same USB stick, so the license goes with this device and not like with the PC
Yeah.
hardware.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then the thing is that kind of carries over to if you're installing Office. See, now if you had installed Office 2010 on your PC, it would ask, and you would go to another PC, Office would say, hey, I need that license key, and you would now run into this whole problem again. So I guess the way to clean that up is Office is you can get yourself an Office 365 account. Because Office 365, you can
Mhm.
put on different hardware and stuff like that, and that's how it would go. It wouldn't actually Office wouldn't like sync with the activation key, or I wouldn't what is it there, activate with that product key. It would say,
Right.
I'm running with your Office 365 account, and then you would go along like that.
Okay. All right. So, what else besides Office? You installed anything else on there, or how are you using that? What's kind of your use case for it at this point?
Yeah, I also installed Skype and some, because it's the media center or the Windows 8.1. I have the media apps, so
Hmm.
I'm running the music and the video apps and seeing
To
how
play
that's kind of
video,
working.
okay. I mean, videos are just like videos. They work just
Yeah,
fine.
yeah,
Yeah.
no problems. No problem. It works. It works pretty good. I haven't played around so much with the new. I know Microsoft has made some updates to the music store, to how they're kind of sending you your content, and
Hmm.
that's another thing. It's great how like Windows 8 is giving you that thing where you have like on the phone where you log in with your Windows ID, Microsoft ID, and then your desktop comes with however you set it up on your PC. Like you have to do that dual authentication. You'll say, yeah, trust this PC. It'll send you an email. So at least they got some kind of protection there that, I don't give you my drive and then you plug it in and boot it up and then you get all my stuff. It's like there has to be a bit of an authentication going on there. And then what it'll do is it'll bring up all your content, all your your apps that you had. If you're on another hardware, it'll bring in those apps, your music collection again, like the Xbox Music add-in or Metro app. You'll be able to go online and get all your music and stuff and listen to your music and videos that you've purchased or that you have on a server somewhere else, and all your stuff is going to be like coming in.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Would you think that work on a tablet if it had like a Surface? Because that's got a USB port, right? And can it? I don't. Can it boot to that USB port?
Yeah, I don't know. You will have to see how. I don't know, Jen. Maybe,
Yeah.
Jen, Jen. Maybe you should send me a scholarship tablet. I'm
We'll have to
willing to
get you that.
try.
Well, it'd have to be an Intel tablet, right? It couldn't be one of these ARM tablets because it definitely has
All
got to
right.
be, that architecture. But interesting. I don't know. Okay. Well, so any other use cases you want to talk about on that, or is that pretty much kind of wrap it for the Windows to Go experience?
Yeah, well, that's it. The only thing I would say is for people to consider that if they want to try it out and they're willing to spend $100 for it is to get, and then again they have the 32-bit, the 64, and I think a 128. So it depends on how many you want to get, what size you want to get, and test out Windows 8 on your PC, and then run it that way and see how everything goes, and then if you want to commit, then go and get a license or go and get it, do a real install on your hard drive, put an SSD and so forth. So it's a good practice to test it out, to test drive Windows 8.1, I would
Yeah.
say.
Good. All right. Well, we'll kind of put a wrap on Windows to Go and the very first Home Tech Scholarship Fund, so to speak. John, you were the first to jump on that, and I like it. We got we never did a post, right? We just had you on to talk about it twice, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
we're looking for either a post or you come on the show and talk about it, and that's how the Tech Scholarship Fund works. Speaking of scholarship funds, we got a guy that's a couple weeks now, maybe 3-4 weeks into school, and already doing big things on campus there. Christian, why don't you take us back a little bit and kind of walk through? I know you had some big opportunities over the last couple
Yeah,
weeks.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's been pretty great.
yeah. Tell us about them.
All right, so gosh, I think I was on the show last on my second week here, and we're now finishing up either the fourth or fifth. Yeah, this will be the starting the fifth or finishing the fifth. I can never remember which, but we're in that time zone. So there's really been a lot going on. School has really kind of ramped up full gear now, so everything's in full swing. And everything has been really quite busy. I actually have a bit of a break now with the government shutdown because all of my bosses are furloughed. The contract company that I'm with right now is pretty much on shutdown for, I'd say, about 90% of the company because all of NASA has pretty much gone home except for essential mission support. So right now I'm doing some kind of offline work, but that's slowed down, which is nice because it gives me some time to focus on school. But the really great opportunity that I had in the last couple of weeks here was I was the opening student speaker for the ACES cybersecurity launch here at the University of Maryland, which is the first undergraduate honors college program for cybersecurity in the United States. One of 57 students who are in the very first cohort of the program. And it really has been such an exceptional opportunity to be part of this program. Really, a lot of interesting people my peers that I'm going to classes with and doing these outside activities with. And the partnership with Northrop Grumman in this kind of it's called a Living Learning Program within the Honors College of the University of Maryland, and it's very unique to have such a close relationship with Northrop Grumman, who is top private defense contractor in the United States, supporting a wide variety of military and intelligence communities, and they do everything from state-of-the-art manufacturing of military equipment to intelligence gathering and supporting communities from the DoD, the NSA, so on and so forth. So to have them as industry professionals guiding us through this program and being kind of an industry backing to the work that we're doing here is really fantastic to have, on top of already a top academic institution for computer science. But one of the really interesting things about this program is that it's interdisciplinary. So only about 40% of us are computer science majors, and there's a handful of criminology, economics, computer engineering. So there's a really nice diverse group, and that's kind of one of the core fundamental aspects of this program, is that it's not just about hammering in the technical skills that you need to be a cybersecurity professional. It's really about kind of the whole package deal, which you really won't get in a lot of programs, especially because cybersecurity as a major doesn't really exist at any colleges. So this is kind of the closest program you can get to having some kind of formal certification in cybersecurity, acknowledged by a top university for research. So being the open speaker for that in front of the president of the University of Maryland, Wallace Lowe, the chancellor of the University System of Maryland, William Kerwin, the CEO of Northrop Grumman, Wes Bush, the dean of the Honors College, Donna Hamilton, and there were, I would say, over 200 people in attendance for the launch event, and many of those were industry representatives. The NSA was in attendance, Parsons was in attendance, the lead Northrop Grumman recruiters was in attendance. I had representatives from both SGT, the chairman of the board, and the chief geospatial officer for NASA Goddard, the lead DAC associate at Langley. I mean, there were a lot of really great people that came out to see this event, some of which were from my support group, but I mean, in general, a lot of industries and a lot of communities taking interest in this program. So it was very high visibility, and really it was quite exhilarating to be able to deliver some opening remarks and be a part of that.
Pretty awesome, Christian. I'm just gonna say it. That's pretty incredible. You got that opportunity right off the bat there. I mean, you've been there 2 weeks, and you're like, hey, look, I got this speech I got to do. It's a great opportunity, and so I assume after. And let me say this: Sean has asked us a question Q&A on Google Plus, and I'm going to get to that here in a second, Sean. So hang tight with us out there. We're not forgetting you, but Christian. I assume you got to kind of chat with these guys when you were done. I mean, was that possible? Did you get a chance to shake hands and mix?
Oh, yeah.
Is school paid for yet?
We're getting there. We're getting closer. There's really a lot of doors opening up, and really I'm looking forward to seeing what transpires. I'm open to a lot of different things, but I've been doing a lot of hardcore work at NASA for 2 years now, so I'm pretty well entrenched in that, and I find it very interesting. But I really love both the culture at Northrop Grumman and the University of Maryland. Just the whole synergy of the program is really unique, and it's a great thing to be a part of. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what opportunities are available in the future.
It sounds like from chat that your mom and dad got to come down as well for the opportunity.
Yeah. Oh, the whole gang was there. The parents drove down. Wow, drove down from Buffalo. We had a gang of my relatives from the DC area. Like I said, I mean, everyone just came out and supported the event, and NASA really had a great presence there, which was really nice to see. And it was it was very well organized. I mean, it wasn't one of those long overdrawn things. I mean, the actual talk time was down to about 40 minutes. So we'll include the link to the actual recorded event in the show notes.
Very cool.
with some pictures. But really just and being able to meet some of the people at Northrop Grumman who really had played a huge role in the vision of this program. Talking with Wes Bush, the CEO of Northrop Grumman, talking with some of the recruiters and the people from the University of Maryland Research. I mean, there are a lot of people who really worked hard to put this program together, and it shows, because there's nothing that in the cybersecurity realm for college students right now that comes even close. So it's really, it's setting a very unique precedent in Maryland, which has truly become the epicenter for cybersecurity. I mean, Maryland is the #1 response state in the U.S. for doing cybersecurity, and that's not just because of the professionals located here, but because of the industry. I mean, you have NASA, you have NIST, you have the NSA headquarters. I mean, a lot of the essential cybersecurity activities that take place are happening in Maryland. So it's really great that we're training the people that we're going to need for those activities right here in the state of Maryland. So,
Christian, Tim Black in chat. By the way, if you're watching us on Google Plus and you're not over at theaverageguy.tv, you're missing out on a chat room. So you can head over there and just drop down below. Sean, that might be a good place to get your question in as well, although I'm going to read that here in just a second. But Christian, Tim asked if NASA's shut down at this point with the government being closed for business, so to speak. Is that affecting you at all in your work?
Sure. So I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but maybe it wasn't clear. Government shutdown had a pretty wide impact on NASA. So all of NASA is shut down except for essential mission support for the 2 astronauts at the International Space Center. Wow, my mind is all over. International Space Station. So those, and we also have anyone who's considered on call. So the people who are maintaining the security of the network, ground security, really any types of facility management. That's really the only people who are there right now. As a contractor, I didn't get a furlough notice, but really a lot of the shared service contractors, which is what the type of contract I'm on, they shut down too if NASA shuts down, because government clients are, for most of these types of companies, at least 95% of the client share that they work with. So I've been able to work offline, but you're not allowed to use any government equipment. My NASA email sends out an automatic reply that says, government shut down due to a lapse of funding. If there's emergency, call this number, and that's it. I mean, we're pretty much completely disbarred from going on center, using any resources, and well, we should be if there's not funding and if the government can't get its act together.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it'll be interesting to see if maybe by the end of the week. This may be a record one, though. I think we might set some records here in the U.S. on the length of time it gets these guys get their act together.
Everyone in the office has bets going on the days.
We need to start an average guy when the U.S. government will start up pool.
Yeah,
just so you can get that right.
We had 1, 2, 4, and 17. I bid in at 4, but I think the person who bid 17 was right.
17,
so.
Yeah, 17 might be close. We do need to get things rolling before the 17th of October, because and this is not tech related at all. But of course, we have that little thing that the debt ceiling that needs to be approved so we can pay some bills. So anyways, well, Christian, thanks for the update on that as well. We won't spend too much more time on that, but congratulations on getting that awesome speech opportunity, and I know that's just going to continue to open doors, and we'll say congratulations to your mom and dad as well. I know Gary's out there hanging out in chat, so Gary, nice job, and congratulations on that. Had to be a proud moment for your parents to sit there and watch you kind of speak in front of these. That's a pretty impressive audience that you had there.
Yeah, it was a good deal.
No small task. Yeah, good stuff. Well, congrats. Hey, I want to get to this question real quick. This is going to seem like an abrupt shift gears, but I'm trying this new Q&A feature out on Google Plus in the Hangouts, where you can actually we enable this before the show starts, and if you're watching on YouTube, or if you're watching, I think you have to be watching in Google Plus, you can throw a question in. Although, like I mentioned before, we have chat going on over at theaverageguy.tv/live. But Sean asked a question. He says, I have an ASUS laptop, which is a touchscreen too. He's referring to the ASUS that I was mentioning earlier to John about making that completely touch. He says, I've installed Classic Shell to make it feel like Windows 7. Nice, easy, free program, Classic Shell. Have you tried it? I haven't tried it. John, have you tried Classic Shell? Your mic's off. Yeah.
Let me see. Classic Shell? No.
Christian?
Is this for Windows 8?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I talked about this back when Windows 8 was in like early preview stages, and said that it was a get around for the no start button menu thing.
Yeah.
Back when we had our wars about whether or not Windows 8 was going to take off. So yeah,
we did have some battles, didn't we?
yeah, I know it's been around there. I'll be honest with you, ever since the 8.1 release, I'm very happy that I can actually click something instead of hanging my mouse around in some I call it the
corner.
I call it the vanishing point. Take me to the vanishing point, Microsoft. Just like where Steve Ballmer is going.
Yeah. It is a lot better. I've messed around a little bit with the VM. I've been waiting for my Windows 8 laptop to upgrade, but I'm gonna like it. I'm gonna like it a lot.
And actually, Server 2012 R2 has a lot of robust features that are still getting coverage that I don't think a lot of people know about. They really kicked up the storage capabilities and added that. And I think Direct Access is now starting to get easier to set up. So that's going to be some stuff in some futuristic world where I have free time that I'd like to look at. But
yeah, Tony says with Windows 8.1, he didn't even reinstall Start 8, and I mean that's kind of it's not a start button, right? You don't get the button back, but you kind of get a start you don't get the menu back. You just get the button that takes you to the.
It's like if you right-click the Start button now in Windows 8.1, you get like the essentials, right? So
yeah.
I don't know. To be honest, and this is where people are gonna enter their shock mode, right? I still hate IE Metro. It's the most useless thing I've ever seen. But I actually really like the newsreader, the Metro newsreader with I like the layout. It gives you that nice news magazine feel. There's no ads. There's no clutter crap. It's just nice, crisp pictures, nice column layout, easy to just scroll through with your scroller and it takes you through. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that makes it halfway decent, but I don't get IE Metro at all. That's just a sad excuse for existing. And I mean some of these other apps. I mean I don't know. Like for example, this photo viewer is the most frustrating thing in the world. Not only because it takes 5 billion years to load on my computer, which I still haven't figured out why, but it's like if I load the Pictures app, it'll just start showing tiles from my pictures folder. That's fine. But then if I just want to double click like a random photo open when I'm in my desktop mode, if you don't set the default to the Windows photo viewer, it just opens up this metroed out tile of this blown up picture, and then you can't get to anything else, and it just distorts the picture and looks terrible. And it's like, what's wrong with you? And then I don't know.
The way to look at pictures is to have them on your SkyDrive and look at them that way.
See, the way to look at your pictures is to put them on your own cloud, which is literally owncloud.org, and get your stuff off these cloud services. And I think eventually next week I'm going to need to start doing transforming Christian's Corner into the cybersecurity corner, because when you start hearing some of this stuff, you're going to be like,
Right.
Really,
I'll take you up on that. We'll call it Christian's Cybersecurity Corner.
Yeah, I mean, especially because I'm having pretty good success right now with OwnCloud. You know, you set it up on your Drobo if you want, right? But you know, it's a really nice.
Are you mocking me?
I'm just saying that there's a wide variety of options for a wide customer base to use this type of stuff. Where
yes,
and
disagree.
And the sync technology has gotten really nice on that. It used to be kind of flaky, but it's really smoothed out pretty nicely. So I'm using that now because one of the big issues that I always have is that, well, it's been growing more of an issue, is that, you know, I used to, well, kind of do my and the Beast that we used to call my desktop the Beast, its new official name is the Flamethrower. So from now on, it's referred to as the Flamethrower, and that's just because it always throws an inordinate amount of heat into the room for no valid reason. Anyway,
you know how many watts that thing burns at?
Oh, that thing's, I mean, just the CPU.
Did you put a kilowatt on it?
Yeah, it's been a while. Just the CPU is like 125 watt TDP, but if you were to go gaming on that thing with the 6950 running at full bore, man, you're drawing at least 600 watts. It'll suck up juice.
Yeah, I've been running the dual CPU one I've gotten. It runs about 375 watts, and I feel guilty every time I turn it on. It's like a tree dies every
Yeah,
time I turn that
I
thing
mean,
on.
when my flamethrower idles, it gets down around like 150. But I mean, that's if you're just doing internet browsing. If you're doing any
Yeah,
kind of visual processing, you're kaput.
I just
Um,
all our power is not free like it is there in where John lives there in Quebec, but
yeah,
I gotta
well,
balance it with the
Montreal.
air conditioner. You know, gotta put the air conditioner on full blast when my PC starts to heat up.
well, actually, I for my dorm room, I took a Nettle 3 motherboard out of one of our older boxes and put a custom biostashmods.com BIOS on it that lets me run a Phenom 2 65-watt TDP processor on it, 4-core. The 65-watt TDP ones were hard to get because they don't really sell them anymore. But that was the CPU that used to be in our media center before we had the amazing Haswell box that no one believes in. And
No, just Mike Fauché doesn't believe in that.
right, and that thing runs this thing runs pretty solid. But along those lines, I have my work laptop. I have this desktop in Maryland. All my like essential stuff is still on that desktop at home, being backed up to home server. So it's nice for me to be able to sync all my devices to my own cloud, because that way, when I either have to turn in a device or switch to another device, it's not like this huge deal to migrate all my stuff over and then get all my apps reinstalled. It's just all there, so I just kind of sync and go, which is really kind of the mindset I need to be in now, where I almost treat my stuff like dummy terminals, and everything is sitting on a server that I run, so that it's all centralized, which has its advantages and drawbacks. But we recently did some reinvestment into our network infrastructure and our power saving plans. We're now up to 5 dedicated servers on our network, which sounds like overkill, and I assure you it is. But what
Nice.
we've kind of done to make it make sense is we have our EX485, which is revamped with the 4 gigs of RAM, the maxed out drive bays. That has Server 2012 Essentials on it and is the domain controller of our network. So that's a toaster. It stays on 24/7, runs great, and it does all the essential domain functions. And it's a really snappy box. But then what's even more snappier is the one we picked up a couple weeks ago. We bought for $170, I think, a EX495 off eBay, and we stuck in a quad-core Intel processor at Burns Metal, and with 4 gigs of RAM, and maxed it out with 3 terabyte drive bays. And it is it's a 12 terabyte Windows 2012 R2 box, and it runs our media server. It is a complete replica of the essential storage stuff that's on the domain controller, so it replicates the user shares and that kind of stuff for failover. And those are the 2 boxes that run dedicated on our network. And they're both toasters that are very high-performing toasters, so it's no problem to leave them running 24/7. And then our other 3 boxes, so we have XW8600, which is a dual-socket Xeon quad-core board, so that has 8 cores in it. Then we have our one, it's called the MG storage server, and that's our high-powered SAS RAID storage box that you can write to at about 800 megabytes per second or something like that. And then the last box is MG Intranet, which does SharePoint and some of the kind of more trickier apps to install and configure. So what happens is at midnight, those 3 boxes that consume more power just go into hibernation automatically, and the only 2 boxes that run the network are EX45, EX495, each with 4 gigs of RAM and the souped up CPUs and everything. And then when it's 8 o'clock in the morning, lights out kicks on those other servers, and then you're back up and running. And I forgot to add, I made an error, and there's actually 6 dedicated servers, because we also acquired a couple months ago a 1U, one of the server rack style Dell systems that is also a dual socket Xeon quad core box that we picked up for like $200. That sounds like a like an airplane is landing in your basement when you turn it on. So we only really use it when we need to run some extra apps and we're running low on resources. But it has a really nice. They have really nice 15K drives that came with it, so it's a pretty high performing box, so we kick that on if we need it. So that way we have our 4 boxes, and that box and the other dual socket box stay off unless we specifically call them to be on. Then the MG storage and the MG intranet wake up every day at 8 a.m. and kick off at midnight. And then our EX45 and our EX495, which probably get 50 watts max, those are on 24/7, and that really changes the power dynamics. So we're hoping our electricity bill will go down substantially by doing that, but we don't really lose any functionality, which is why we kind of went with this setup.
How do you like them apples, John Zadler?
Okay, I got a question about the 495, Christian.
Yeah, shoot.
Because that's the only ones I know about, the 45, 495. The other, I can't take it. What size drives you have in there? You have 4 what?
Your dad says it's a 490.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. The 490 has 3 terabyte hard drives in it, and the 485 has
4 3 terabyte drives?
Yeah. Yeah.
How could you boot off? Because it doesn't allow any booting off GPT drives.
The first drive is a 2 terabyte platter, and then the other 3 are 3. But
wait a minute. What are you talking to?
Gary got that straightened out in chat.
But the 3 terabyte drives are using storage spaces, which is really nice because you have that failover space. So I think it comes out to like 8 terabytes of storage space that's on the 3 terabyte platters after the formatting, and then the other 2 terabyte drive runs that.
Gary also says that boot drive is a hybrid Seagate.
Oh. Yeah, so it's got, I think, a 8 or 16 gigabyte cache on it or something like that.
Yeah, because I know it's older technology, so it has to be MBR drive there, so the biggest 2 terabytes. But I've hacked in the 3 terabyte drives, and if you can get the 3 terabyte drives, you can also get the 4 terabyte drives too. Because once they become GPT there, you can still get them in. So you're using. So then you must be using. What OS did you say you had?
2012 R2 on the 490 and 2012 Essentials on the domain controller.
Okay.
Nicely done.
And eventually, all those boxes, we're doing some data migration right now to kind of reorganize our data structure schemes. But once those are done, we're going to upgrade all the boxes. Will be 2012 R2. They're all 2012 right now, with the 490 being the R2 box. So we're going to get all of them on the R2, and pretty much all of the desktop client machines at this point are either Windows 7 Ultimate or Windows 8. I'm probably one of the only users of Windows 8 on my desktop at Maryland, and it gets along fine. I refuse to upgrade Flamethrower to Windows 8. I'm leaving that with Windows 7 Ultimate because there's just too many things that I don't want to get messed up on there. But I enjoy
That's still at home, right?
Yeah, but I remote into it if I need something. Right. But this Windows 8.1 box with the Phenom 2 is pretty awesome, and I'm really surprised that. Maybe it's just my imagination, but hibernation and sleep seem way faster on Windows 8.1 than what I'm used to in Windows 7.
There's some cache trickery going on there.
Yeah, it just pops right back in. It's pretty neat. I haven't had any problems with this box. It's been super solid.
It was useless in 7. I mean, it was just horrific in Vista, and then it got a little better in 7, but 8 they've cleaned it up, and it really does transition pretty well.
Yeah, it's nice.
I open up my box and my ASUS laptop, and bam, it's on. I mean, it goes from hibernation to on in 2 seconds. Just like that.
It's like turning on television, which is the way it should be. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Super impressed with it. So that's for sure. So,
yeah.
John, anything else? Oh, go ahead, Christian.
Oh no, go ahead and finish.
I was going to say, John, anything else that you heard in there that as Christian was rolling through that? Anything else you heard in there that you want to question him about?
No, the other boxes, I have no idea what that was.
Yeah.
All I would say is the 1U box there. You say it's noisy because of the power supply?
No, the fans that suck because it's a 1U design. The fans sit in the front where the hard drive cages are, and then it just sucks air over the board because it's just they're just heat fins that are on top of the CPU, so it gets pretty whiny. And I think you can replace those fans with silent fans, but in those boxes that they blow off cheap on eBay have good horsepower, but they're designed to be sitting in a server room where it's all soundproofed and all that jazz. So
Cool.
Nice. I have a confession to make
No.
so when we started Home Tech, the whole idea was to be the show for the average guy, right? That was the whole premise behind this, right? And so I find this 15-year-old kid that I think is pretty smart at the time, and I'm thinking, oh, this is great. This will be, he's kind of he's a good kid and he's smart and he
He'll
can help
dumb
us.
it down for us.
Yeah, he'll right.
Wrong.
Well, so single-handedly, Christian has just manhandled the podcast, and I had to name it The Average Tech Guy after a while, because now we've just gone well beyond that. It's funny when I get people who listen to the show at work or friends of mine, and they're like, what are you guys talking about? So it's all very cool, Christian, and certainly we built an audience around that. I continue to get letters all the time from guys, just like we did tonight, said love the podcast and love the show. You've been a big part of that. So it's fun to listen, and especially, you and your dad work on those things together. And it's fun to listen to you guys and the upgrades that you do and such. And I know it makes us all jealous. And Gary, if you want to get rid of a few of those hard drives, maybe the 1 or 2 terabytes, let me know. Maybe we can we can ship those out somewhere. But it's always fun to catch up. Who's got the drums playing in the background? Is that you,
Don't
Christian?
even get me started. All right, so without fail, every night at 10 o'clock on a weeknight, the Maryland marching band, whatever, these guys decide that the parking garage over here is a great place to just do their little practicing. So at 11 o'clock at night, they just start rolling. And I have to leave the window open here because it gets hot like crazy. This is actually the only dorm left on campus that doesn't have AC, so I still got a box fan sitting here. But it's annoying as hell. But in any case, next year we'll be in Prince Frederick Hall, which will be all the rage and envy of the University of Maryland. It is the brand new kick-ass dorm built by Northrop Grumman, or funded by Northrop Grumman rather, and it will have everything from the high-speed internet hooked straight into the line with we're going to have basically a virtual IT lab and all sorts of cool cybersecurity gadgets, situation rooms, classrooms, lecture halls. The dorm rooms will be up top. Northrop Grumman conference room. It's going to be sweet. It's going to be really sweet.
Awesome.
So.
We need to. I need to spend some time talking to you about if Gallup could seriously recruit out there at University of Maryland, and that way I can make a trip out to see you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty surprised that they haven't, because they have at the University of Maryland. Not only do they have a university-wide career fair, which like every company in the state of Maryland, yet alone the East Coast, is at, but they also have one dedicated for CS majors and CS minors. And there are some impressive companies. I mean, there were 80 companies at the one that they hosted a couple weeks ago, and I mean everything from the NSA to Booz Allen, Microsoft, Google, Yahoo, AT&T. I mean, everyone's there.
That's my problem.
Yeah.
Right. It's tough when you're a little fish, and we are at Gallup. I mean, we're not the
but there were some
name.
smaller companies there. They they're startup.
Yeah.
There are a lot of Maryland startup companies that come to these events. Cyber Data is one of them. I mean, there's a lot of startup culture here, and actually, I've heard a fair number of people here do have some serious name recognition with Gallup. So to float your ego a little bit, I'll tell you that the ACES program has used the StrengthsFinder very heavily. They broke up the entire ACES class based on what their top 5 strengths were from the Gallup Strengths Quest Finder. And we've had some specialists from the engineering college come in and talk about the actual process that Gallup does for creating that system, and why it only shows you your top 5 instead of all of them, and what's going on when you change your answer, and how the system is adjusting for that. So they really broke it down, and all of our team group projects are basically they match different people. So funnily enough, if funnily is really an acceptable word, but
you're learning in college.
Yeah, right. That's my fun word. Anyway, the majority of the class all has the achiever category on there,
Mhm.
which doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, you guys are
And
probably all achiever, strategic, competition,
Achiever
learner.
Achiever was the one that pretty much everyone had, but after I was surprised. After that, it was pretty different. I mean,
Yeah.
there were some that were harmonious and
Yeah,
input, and
harmony input. Yeah,
yeah,
we see in developers, we see a lot of that strategic learner developer. We see those strengths in a lot of
yeah. I
those
mean,
in some of our developers.
let's see, okay, I can tell you what my group. So mine
Crap!
was,
Now I'm gonna have to send John the Gallup Strengths Finder so he can talk about
I
this.
mean, mine was achiever, strategic, learner, input, and analytical, which
Yeah.
pretty much describes me to a T, right? But I mean,
You're
like,
a typical developer for us,
yeah.
which is why you interviewed for us.
Yeah, but I mean, there's, futuristic,
Yep.
harmonious, adaptability, empathy, includer, maximizer, individualization, belief. I mean, all these things are ones that
Did
are
you get
part of
all
my group.
34?
No, 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 no,
Oh,
no.
those are other people.
These are
Okay.
top fives from. I have
Gotcha.
5 people total in my group. So
Yeah.
those are
Yeah,
just
yeah.
some of the highlights from the other ones.
Okay, let's stop. It's like I'm at work. No,
Go
I'm
to
just
work,
kidding.
Jim.
I'm just kidding. In fact, we'll do Called to Coach tomorrow. So tomorrow, noon Central, if you're watching live. Tomorrow, noon Central, over at coaching.gallup.com. I get to do a podcast now at work, and we talk about strengths coaching, which is taking these strengths and we talk to people who coach people on these strengths. So it's pretty cool. Anyways. So, John, I want to make sure as we kind of come across the hour, anything else you wanted to cover from a tech perspective?
This isn't a tech podcast. Come on now.
Well, the
Anything?
only other thing I was playing around, which you haven't really talked about, is gaming. So maybe one day in the future and stuff like that.
It's
Maybe
true.
with the Xbox One is going to be coming out and stuff like that. And I had a bit of a discussion last week. Like I have one of these Nintendo Wii U's. These guys there that have like a screen like that. It's got a bit of a tablet like this, and
Yeah.
so what happens is, like, one of the things with Nintendo and Microsoft is doing too is downloadable content. So sometimes it's like, if you're gonna buy games, are you gonna buy games that are you the type of person that likes to go to the store at midnight or whatever and get the box with the CD and put it on your shelf, or you say, you know what, I don't mind sitting on my couch and pressing buy on PayPal and just have it downloaded to my system. So sometimes I'd like to hear a debate about that and how people are kind of, or are they moving away from consoles and stuff like
Yeah,
that,
we'll
more
have to.
into the $1 games.
Let me throw
the
that out to the
tablets.
listeners. If anybody, most of the current hosts that we have on, we're kind of enterprise, home server, backup, general tech. But I wouldn't mind maybe doing a 2 or 3 week series on gaming, and that might maybe be the next series that we do. So if you're interested in joining me for a gaming podcast, we'll consider doing that. Maybe we'll do that in the month of November as we lead up to Black Friday. That would be maybe a good things you can buy for Christmas that you can game on. And let me know, podcast at theaverageguy.tv. So good suggestion, John. Anything else?
No, I installed
Nope.
that. There was an update to Add In Central that you guys talked about on the
Yeah.
podcast.
We did. We actually, a lot of times I bring John on because we've been so busy doing other things on the home server show. I bring John on to talk about home server stuff that we didn't cover, and John's still big in the home server community. But we covered a lot of the stuff last night. Office Maven has an update to add in or to his software that added Add-in Central, which is one of my favorite add-ins that was out there back on V1, and a new. And then we actually have some. Mike gave us some stuff to give away at the meetup, and if you were at the meetup and you won one of his gift certificates, I told you to contact me, and only one person did. So if we'll do it on the honor system here. If you won and you haven't contacted me yet, send me an email so I can get those over to Mike, and he can send out $100 credits to some of his software over there as well. We thank Mike Craven for doing that for the Home Server Show meetup as well. Christian, any other thoughts before we kind of come in this thing for a landing and do a post show?
Future topics coming up. If anyone's interested in average guy cybersecurity, intermediate, advanced cybersecurity, I think we should start talking that because it's what's on my mind, and
Yeah.
I normally talk best about what's on my mind. What else? I think that's good.
Okay.
Good
Good
place
stuff.
to start.
I've got some things to kind of wrap up here in the post or in the as we come in for a landing here. Just some reminders. If you made it to this part of the show, you're part of the most engaged 10% of our listeners out there. So congratulations.
You're a true hero.
We always appreciate you guys hanging around and listening to us as long as you do. A couple reminders for you. Again, I want to thank Jim, and he actually gave us a big donation to the Tech Scholarship Fund. And so, Jim, appreciate that. And I didn't get permission to use your last name, so I'll hold off on that as well. But Jim asked, hey, can I make I don't want to buy it at Amazon. Can I make a donation? We said, absolutely. So he added to the Tech Scholarship Fund. And if you're interested in taking some kind of item, I was just mentioning before the show, Brad asked me if he could test out an Alesis Multimix 4, which is a nice soundboard that you can use under $100, and he's gonna try it out for us, write a few articles, and then come in on the show and talk about that. You know what we ought to do? We ought to do a whole series around music, not like MP3 music, but like original music, played music, right? Christian, you could talk to that as well. So we ought to think about getting some musicians in here and talk about music tech in there. So that's an idea. If you want to get involved in that podcast, let me know. Podcast at The Average Guy or Jim at theaverageguy.tv. Both of those get to me just as well. So that, Jim, thanks for that big donation to the Tech Scholarship Fund. That will definitely help out. I'll remind you, if you come out to the show early, we are trying a new experiment with Groove Shark. So if you go out to theaverageguy.tv/music before the show, I usually have got some tunes keyed up. What I like about Groove Shark is you can actually influence the music selection. So jump in there, suggest a song, and if another person pluses it or likes it or whatever they do, they're on Groove Shark, and we get two people, we'll play that in the mix, and you can kind of have an influence on the pre-show music. It was really our way around getting around illegally playing music, is what it was. We didn't like to do that. And Groove Shark lets you stream that for free. So come out to theaverageguy.tv/music in the pre-show. We'll be doing that from here on out. Mike Howard and I did a recording at the end of a show, 6 weeks ago on the Nest thermostat. And Nest just recently announced that they will be opening up that thermostat to third-party developers, which sounds kind of cool. So there might be some apps coming out for the Nest thermostat. I know we follow that in the community. Gordon has picked up one of those. Mike Howard has a bunch of those. And so if you have got a Nest thermostat, you might want to keep an ear to the ground on the news community. Might be getting some apps for your Nest thermostat sooner rather than later. So that is kind of cool. I mentioned earlier in the show I got a Synology 712 Plus that I'll be reviewing over the next forever. Sitting right, actually it's right, you can't see it, my head's in the way. It's right there next to the Drobo. So it goes the N40L, the Synology, a Solo below it, and the Drobo right behind me. So we've got some equipment back there. It's got two 1 terabyte drives in it. And I'll be messing around with the Synology DSM and give you some feedback. That's been covered. I probably won't do a lot of posts on it because that's just been covered to death. But I'll at least give you my experience on it. Dave McCabe wanted to get that in my hands so I could at least talk about it with him because he really likes it. Special live show this weekend with Kyle Wilcox. Don't forget about that. Watch my Twitter. Kyle and I will be talking about his review of the Transmart MK908, which is a little Android-based PC replacement little device. It really isn't any bigger. I mean, it's just about that big. We had it at the meetup. It's very, very small. It's smaller than a Chromecast, and it runs Android, and he's trying to think of, can he use this as a PC replacement for his younger brother? And is it a cheap way to get like a word processing, that kind of deal, surf the web, and maybe create a few documents? So we'll be talking about that with him. Sounds like we're going to be retooling home tech here as we go into the spring. We've got some new ideas for some podcasts. We're going to retool Christian's Corner into a more cybersecurity emphasis. We'll always have John Zadler back. And I'm going to try and get most of the hosts that we haven't seen in a while get back here on the home tech as we head into the fall. John Zadler, always great to have you on the show. Thanks for coming out. And we got to find a way to get you here to the United States. I don't know how we're going to do that. But we got to get you down here sometime. Wish you could have been in a meetup maybe next year.
Yeah,
Christian,
thanks for having me. Thanks for the stick there, the scholarship stick.
You bet. Thank the listeners. They're the one who, just a reminder, if you purchase at Amazon, just go to theaverageguy.tv/Amazon, and that helps us fund the scholarship fund. I'm making about $70 a month that's dropping into the scholarship fund that we just spend that money back on you if you want to give it a try. So John was the first recipient of it. John, thanks for coming in. Christian, it's always great to see you and great to have you in. I know you're going to be sporadic throughout the fall and the spring, and that's okay. You
Sure.
got things to do, but great to see you.
Thanks, man. It's good to be here and good to catch up with everyone.
Yeah, likewise. I'll remind you that if you're new to podcasting, and many of you aren't, but just in case you are, we do have an option for you that is actually easy, very easy, and actually getting in a lot of cars now. And that's out at Stitcher.com. Stitcher's available for both Android, iPhone platforms. It's in a bunch of different vehicles. They just announced recently in the Mazda 3s. It's available in their entertainment console. Going forward, it's of course this show and all the past shows are on Stitcher. Just go to Stitcher.com. It is streaming, so you don't have to download that to your phone if you're having trouble keeping up with the memory in your phone. This is streaming on Stitcher, and the audio quality continues to get better there. Stitcher.com. Search Home Tech. We also have all the links to get the show through all the different ways: iTunes, Xbox Music, RSS feed, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Podomatic, Spreaker. All those are available. I'm everywhere. You can find Home Tech just about everywhere, and we'd like you to have a listen. And just that way, you get the show automatically every single week. You can also view and subscribe to the show out on YouTube. That's a great way to consume it because you get the video as well. TheAverageGuy.tv/YouTube, or catch the show each week live like we're doing right now, 8 p.m. Central over at TheAverageGuy.tv live. And don't forget, we have groups both on Facebook. We'd love to see that Facebook group grow a little bit, TheAverageGuy.tv/Facebook, and Google Plus out there at TheAverageGuy.tv/Google. And don't forget, like I mentioned earlier, TheAverageGuy.tv/Amazon helps out with that tech scholar. I'm really liking that. I'm liking it. It's working well there with that tech scholarship fund. So let's get some folks doing it. We will not be back next Thursday. So today is what is today? October 3rd. So the 10th of next week. No show next week. I will be in Southern California. Actually, I'll be coming back from Southern California, and I cannot guarantee my flight or times or all those other things. I'll just be coming in. The last thing I'm going to want to do after 4 days in California is a podcast. So everybody, take the week off. Same pay. Just take your regular pay, Christian. No podcast next week, and we'll be back here on the 17th. And we got some cool stuff lined up for you. I've got a couple Microsoft MVPs lined up over the next couple weeks as well. We'll be jumping in, and some guys in at some conferences, and you might want to stay tuned to what we have coming up. We'll do it again next Thursday, 8 p.m. Central. Stay around for the post show. Remember, you can't get the post show if you don't come out to the live show. So we'll see you back here next Thursday, or 2 weeks from now. Good night, everybody.
Good night.